The Renaissance, a time of great change and creativity. It blossomed in Europe, starting in the 14th century and lasting into the 17th century. This period marked a vibrant shift from the Middle Ages, which had dominated Europe for centuries. The Renaissance was a time of looking back to the classical art and learning of ancient Greece and Rome. But it wasn't just about copying the past. It was about rebirth, about a fresh way of seeing the world. Imagine a world where art was mostly about religion. Now picture art celebrating the human body and the natural world. This was the change the Renaissance brought. People were becoming more interested in the here and now, not just the afterlife. It was a period of great discovery, invention, and a renewed interest in human potential. This cultural revolution didn't just happen overnight. It was influenced by factors like the rediscovery of ancient texts, the rise of wealthy trading cities like Florence, and the invention of the printing press. The printing press was a game changer. It allowed for the spread of knowledge and ideas like never before. The Renaissance was more than just a period in history, it was a transformation of the human spirit. It laid the groundwork for the modern world, influencing everything from art and science to politics and religion. To understand the impact of the Renaissance, we need to look back at the era that preceded it, the Middle Ages. The medieval period, while often romanticized, was a time of strict social hierarchy, limited education, and a worldview dominated by the church. Life for most people was hard, with war, famine, and disease being constant threats. The Catholic Church held immense power during the Middle Ages. It controlled not only spiritual life but also influenced politics, education, and daily life. Art and literature largely served religious purposes, focusing on biblical stories and the lives of saints. Knowledge was primarily controlled by the church, with few people having access to books or education. However, by the 14th century, cracks began to appear in this rigid system. The Black Death, a devastating plague that swept through Europe, decimated the population and shook people's faith in the established order. The church, once seen as all-powerful, seemed unable to stop the suffering. This period also saw the growth of cities and trade. As cities like Florence, Venice, and Genoa grew wealthier through commerce, they challenged the power of the feudal lords. A new class of merchants and bankers emerged, eager to invest in art and learning. These changes set the stage for a cultural shift, a move away from the dogma of the Middle Ages towards a more human-centered worldview. At the heart of the Renaissance was a new intellectual movement: humanism. Humanism wasn't about rejecting religion. Instead, it emphasized the value of human reason, experience, and creativity. Humanists believed in the potential of individuals to achieve great things in this life, not just the next. Inspired by the writings and ideas of ancient Greece and Rome, humanists like Francesco Petrarch and Leonardo Bruni sought out lost classical texts. They believed these texts held the key to a richer understanding of the human condition. These rediscovered works, once buried in monastic libraries, sparked a renewed interest in classical philosophy, literature, and history. Education was paramount to the humanists. They established schools and academies that emphasized not just rote learning but also critical thinking, rhetoric, and the study of the humanities, grammar, history, poetry, and moral philosophy. The goal was to create well-rounded individuals who could think for themselves, participate in civic life, and contribute to society. Humanism had a profound impact on art, literature, and even politics. It encouraged artists to explore human emotions and experiences in their work. Writers began to use vernacular languages like Italian and French, instead of just Latin, making literature accessible to a wider audience. Humanist ideas about individual worth and civic responsibility also influenced political thought, contributing to the decline of feudalism and the rise of more representative forms of government. Artists as geniuses Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael,